It's
not part
story.
of the agenda.
I have to tell you the
it's not.
story.
The story.
Listen, I haven't told any of them. I don't have time to communicate.
So you're it tonight if David doesn't show.
Today I like have had a headache all day.
I don't know.
But I know one thing. I wasn't expecting
Frank,
it.
Frank,
Like your
Frank.
necklace. I was
Kind
gonna
of came
ask
up
you what that
suddenly
is.
last week.
Oh, this one is aggregate. That came
Fine.
from
I just wish I had a little bit of a script. Go by
my birthday. Karen gave it to me.
only
I think it's One Amazing Find. She usually gives me something at One Amazing Find like every time. This came from the docks, but the company is out of, the company's name is McAngelo or something. It's out of Las Vegas.
Huh.
But the stone is from the Dominican. That stone is mined exclusively in the Dominican. So they mine it and they send it to there, and then they make the really nice jewelry apparently in Las Vegas.
and then you
And
buy
then they
it,
jack it up.
and then they send it over here,
But it's
triple the price.
It's much cheaper than like most of the gemstones because it's semi-precious. But it's super pretty. It looks like clouds. That's why I liked it. My mom brought some home from the Dominican, and when I saw it down at the docks,
Like when you go on cruises and stuff, like you can always find cheap, like really.
well, she went to the Dominican, and so I didn't know anything about this stone I never had seen. She brought back a cross made with a couple pieces. So when I saw it down at the docks for this company, oh, I like that. And I love the triangular
The
cut, the
design.
trillion cut. So when I saw that, I like it.
Very.
I just thought I should put myself up to it.
You did a very good
Because I have a headache, and I thought maybe if I put things on and like
We went
tried.
to Honeymoon Island yesterday,
Oh,
and we put something the dog on meal. That was, but not on.
so you're hot.
Put it on my face. But
You're
where
all
the-
burned,
I'm like pink. It doesn't look like
hurt, and that's like the worst. That's like the worst thing you can have with Jack.
I was gonna wear it. Well, that worked. And she just wore an over. I got that.
When you the next time you go to like Dillard's or Ulta, go over to the clinic.
Yeah.
They have
Moisture
this moisture
Surge.
surge.
I have it.
Way best stuff ever. It's
Yeah.
better than the aloe or anything.
Actually,
Treat it.
the gardening thing makes not good.
Something. Yeah.
But it's because it's got silver.
Yeah, that stuff is the best for burn. Because I got my ears wicked burn when I kayaked. But one day I didn't think to like put sunscreen on my ear. Like who would think?
I put it in 50.
And I put just a ball cap. I was only gonna go for an hour. I ended up being 3 or 4 hours.
We were only gonna go for 40 minutes, and we.
I
2
actually had like a
Blisters.
3rd-degree burn blister. I'd never had that stuff, but it's so little. The skin's just so thin.
Then
I asked him. I said, "Am I okay?" He's like, "You're fine." He's like, "Go home and put lotion."
did I make this up? The 15 sprinkles
Yes, ma'am.
for windows.
Yes, gotta come clean
Same thing.
through your mind. Whatever.
Different.
Yeah, different window, but like the same application.
Of like reading it. Like, no, we've done this
Yeah.
before.
We thought we should redo it every single one 4 or 5 times so that we
I was
get
like,
the. We're trying to get it down here. I don't know. I haven't heard from him. I haven't heard him. But you know, it has to be some authority. That's because they all. You have to that.
I got
There you
unanimously.
lives right next door, so we should go knock.
Who is?
Right next door, so we should go knock. Yeah, so it's right out the back door here, and like, he lives like literally across the street from the other.
Public
building.
Works. Okay, go get it. Go thank him.
If I-
This title.
Keaton's not coming to his house. Nobody to be in there. So I told him, gonna relocate down the
Okay,
way
you'll
here.
relocate. That is quite all right.
Need to stay here. Rest down.
Here, here.
Well, I was gonna say, you should say for the record, though, that you are not the chair. Go ahead and call the meeting to
We
order.
do.
Okay.
All right. All right, this meeting is called to order. This is the Heritage Preservation Board meeting of March 6th, 2017 at 6:30 PM. And if we could please have a roll call, Ms. Secretary?
Mr. Bolton, Ms. Protervinus,
Here?
Ms. Page,
Here.
Ms. Johnson,
Here.
Just to let you all know, I'm not the chair, I'm just the staff, but we have a new chair, so as she's the vice chair, this is her first meeting, so we're gonna kind of help her along the way, so please bear with us a little bit.
Thank you. Okay. All right, are there any public comments tonight that anybody would like to make before we begin? Okay. Can we have the quasi judicial announcement, please?
Yes, you may. This is a quasi-judicial proceeding where the Heritage Preservation Board acts in a quasi-judicial rather than a legislative capacity. At a quasi-judicial hearing, it is not the board's function to make law, but rather to apply law that has already been established. In a quasi-judicial hearing, the board is required by law to make findings of fact based upon the evidence presented at the hearing and apply those findings of fact to previously established criteria contained in the Code of Ordinances in order to make a legal decision regarding the application before it. The board may only consider evidence at this hearing that the law considers competent, substantial, and relevant to the issues. If the competent, substantial, and relevant evidence at the hearing demonstrates that the applicant has met the criteria established in the Code of Ordinance, then the board is required by law to find in favor of the applicant. By the same token, if the competent, substantial, and relevant evidence at the hearing demonstrates that the applicant has failed to meet the criteria established in the Code of Ordinance, then the board is required by law to find against the applicant. Are there any members of the board wishing to disclose any ex parte communications or conflicts of interest this evening? Seeing none. I would like to let any of the applicants know that since there is not a full complement of the board this evening, that any decision that's made by the board only passes if there's a unanimous vote yes. So if there are any applicants that would like to defer their applications to the next meeting in hopes for a full complement of the board, if you wish to do so, you need to make that known now. Seeing none, anyone who is wishing to speak this evening, if you could please stand and raise your right hand to be sworn in. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
We have minutes that we need to approve from January 9th. Does anybody have any questions about the minutes before we ask for a motion? And if not, and anybody that's ready to make a motion?
I move to approve the minutes of January 9th, 2017.
I'll second.
Ms. Johnson, Ms. Johnson,
Yes.
Ms. Page,
Yes.
Ms. Protervinus,
Yes. Our first case is CA number 17-17, Micah, on 38 West Center Street, and it's regarding a driveway extension and new rear fence.
Good evening, everyone. For the record, Lisa Wargo, Principal Planner. I just wanted to let y'all know that since we had put the packets together, the applicant had decided on a board-on-board type fencing for the property. which is actually in accordance with our guidelines, so staff was able to review that. I stuck in a quick photo of the board-on-board fence that he is doing, so that is really not required to be reviewed by this board this evening, so we'll really just be looking at the driveway. Okay, the applicant is requesting a certificate of approval to extend the length of the driveway rearward on the property, near the back of the property, I'm sorry. The location is 38 West Center Street. The zoning is the RM15 district, and the land use is residential medium. The owner of the property is KAM Joint Ventures LLC. The structure is considered a contributing historic structure. The contributing historic structure is an example of the residential architecture in Tarpon Springs during the Spanish-American War era. The building was constructed circa 1915 in the frame vernacular style and is a one-story wood frame structure with drop siding. The roof is cross-gabled and clad in composite shingles. There is a porch and an off-center entry under the front gabled portico. There was an addition to the rear of the structure in 1960, and the front porch was added in 1980. The applicant is requesting to extend the existing driveway along the side of the home and towards the rear by 36.5 feet, utilizing two 24-inch concrete drive paths with crushed shell down the center and along both sides of the paths. The applicant is also asking to install a 6-foot wood fence, which we are not reviewing. The review criteria. In reviewing an application for a certificate of approval, the board shall consider the following criteria. Numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 we do not find applicable. If you all had any comments to any of those, y'all could just let me know and we can bring it up and discuss it. Number 7, the distinctive architectural features shall be repaired rather than replaced. Wherever possible, architectural details, including color, materials, texture, and the site lighting, will be treated so as to make the building structure or traditional cultural property consistent with the property's original architectural style and character. New materials should replicate the material being replaced in composition, design, color, texture, and other visual qualities. I'm sorry, this one also dealt with the fencing. Skip that. We'll go on to number 8. All building structures, sites, and traditional cultural properties shall be recognized as products of their own time. Alterations, modifications, or other changes to a structure or traditional cultural property shall not attempt to create an earlier appearance than the original date of the construction. And staff's findings are that the additions are not expected to create an earlier appearance. Okay, we're going to skip number 9 since that dealt with the fencing. Number 10, the proposed project shall conform to the other requirements of this code and be in compliance with the applicable goals, objectives, and policies of the comprehensive plan. Staff's findings are that all the proposed improvements would meet the requirements of the LDC, the zoning district regulations, and the goals, objectives, and policies of the comprehensive plan. Furthermore, no archaeological sites will be impacted. So staff recommends approval of the applicant's certificate of approval request for the extended driveway. Any questions?
Does anyone have any questions? Are there any applicants that would like to speak on this case?
If you'd like to come to the podium, say your name and your background.
My name's Kevin Micah. Address is 38 West Center. Basically, that's exactly what I want to do, extend the driveway up to get rid of the dirt, to update the property a little bit, to make it nicer for the new owner to not have to deal with a couple inches of dirt. Exactly what I want to do is a 224-inch pass, 4-inch thick, 36.5 feet down to the end of the driveway, to the back of the house, and then stop it there.
Does anyone have any questions? All right, so we're just opening it up now to any public comments, if anybody wants to speak for or against this case. All right, so if there are no comments, then we're going to close the public portion. Are there any questions or comments by the board?
Just that the certificate of approval will be for the driveway only eventually, is that correct? Not the fence? Okay.
Driveway only? Yes. We have a motion?
I move that the board approves the application by Mr. Micah on this property at 38 West Center Street.
A roll call, please?
Ms. Johnson?
Yep.
Ms. Page?
Yes.
Ms. Protomitis?
Yes.
Okay, our second case is CA 17-18 for the Hineses. The property is located at 115 Spring Boulevard, and this is for new windows. And I understand that this probably sounds very familiar, and I'm asking that anything that we covered in the past on this property involving the windows, that you just kind of try to clear your mind, because the applicant, or actually the owner, has decided to go with a different type of window and different areas to replace them in. So in working with the new consultant assigned to it, I, explained to him how difficult this was for the board at the prior meeting, and just to keep it as simple as possible. So he provided you with a lot of photos and an actual site plan showing you exactly which windows are going to be taking out, and also showing you how the windows look even more so like the existing multi-pane window, like the prairie style multi-pane window. Okay. So the property is located at 115 South Spring Boulevard, and it is considered an historic contributing structure. The structure is known as the Edward Newton Knapp House. It is the first of 5 wooden houses built within the city of Tarpon Springs. Mr. Edward Newton Knapp was a prominent figure in the early history of Tarpon Springs and earned his wealth in the hardware business up north. He later made Tarpon Springs his permanent home. It is said that Mr. Knapp specifically designed his home to fit on its corner lot and would not allow any square-shaped rooms. The home is identified as a Queen Anne revival, constructed circa 1886, having a wood frame and drop wood shingle siding, and has a steep cross-gabled roof, cladded in composite and wood shingles. It is a 2.5-story structure with a porch that wraps around the front facade and a centered octagonal front tower with polychrome roof tiles. There are 2 entries centered under the front porch, according to the master file. The second-story windows at the time of the inventory were wood 2/2 light panes, and the first-story windows were metal casement windows with a single light pane. A 1-story addition was added to the east side of the residence in 1980, and a renovation remodel was approved by the HPB in 2015, and it has been conducted over the last year. The applicant is proposing to replace the windows, location shown on the site plan provided, with Anderson 9/4 light windows as shown below to match the existing windows. The windows are single-hung wood frame windows with exterior aluminum cladding that is factory painted. The paint color will match the current exterior paint of the house. In reviewing an application for certificate of approval, the board shall consider the following criteria. The height and width of any proposed alteration or new construction shall be consistent with that of the adjacent contributing structures and those structures of similar character and architectural style found throughout the immediate neighborhood in the district. Staff's findings are that the surrounding homes are constructed in the Craftsman bungalow style, and the Queen Anne revival style homes present within the neighborhood utilize the 2/2 and 1/1 style pane configurations. Number 2, the width and height of the windows, doors, entries shall be consistent with the character of the building's original architectural style. Repair or replacement of the missing architectural features such as windows, mullions, doors, entries, handrails, etc. should be based on accurate duplications, substantiated by historic or physical or pictorial evidence rather than on conjectural designs or the availability of different architectural elements from other buildings or structures. Staff's findings are that no window openings are proposed to be expanded in size. The proposed 9/4 window pane configuration is consistent with existing 9/4 windows on the home. Number 3 and number 4, we did not find applicable. Number 5, the size and mass or shape of the building after alteration shall be reflective of the building's original architectural style. Size and mass of the proposed structure or for new construction should reflect the character of the contributing buildings within the district as well as those immediately surrounding the subject property and shall include a review of the architectural elements such as roof lines, fenestration, and other components of facade design. Staff's findings are that because the original wood material and size of the existing windows are not available for purchase, the applicant is proposing to utilize the 9/4 windows in a shorter length to match the existing windows on the structure. Any gap between the window frame and facade will be filled and covered with the same lap siding that currently exists on the home. Number 6, we did not find applicable. Number 7, distinctive architectural features shall be repaired rather than replaced wherever possible. Architectural details, including color, materials, texture, and site lighting, shall be treated so as to make the building's structure or traditional cultural property consistent with the property's original architectural style and character. New materials should replicate the material being replaced in composition, design, color, texture, and other visual qualities. Staff's findings are the applicant is proposing wood windows with the same design and pane configuration as the existing window pane configuration across the front facade. Number 8, all buildings, structure sites, and traditional cultural properties should be recognized as products of their own time. Any alterations, modifications, or other changes to the structure should not attempt to create an earlier appearance than the original date of the construction. Staff's findings are that the 9/4 single-hung windows proposed would not create an earlier appearance. The renovation of contributing structures in a historic or cultural district or designated sites shall meet the Secretary of Interior standards for rehabilitation guidelines for rehabilitating historic buildings. Staff's findings are that the guidelines emphasize restoration before replacement. However, the existing windows are too deteriorated to restore. The local design guidelines require the following. The repair and replacement of windows shall match the original. The wholesale replacement of all windows is permitted, provided that the new windows shall match the key design elements of the original windows if 50% or more of the windows are deteriorated or missing. The replacement windows can be wood, anodized aluminum, as what is being proposed, or vinyl. Number 3, original window openings shall not be altered or enclosed, nor shall window trim be removed. Staff was only concerned about number 3 above, and since a portion of the window opening will be filled in and covered. However, since all the windows being replaced on the front facade are part of the newer extension to the home and are already shorter than the existing windows across the front porch, replacement windows would have to be shorter in length. In replacement of the existing windows along the front and back facades with 9/4 window pane configuration is much more compatible in design with the front porch windows than the windows added at the time the new addition was constructed. The proposed project shall conform to all other requirements of the code and be in compliance with the applicable goals, objectives, and policies of the comprehensive plan. Staff's findings are that the replacement of the windows would meet the requirements of the LDC, the zoning district regulations, and the goals, objectives, and policies of the comprehensive plan. And furthermore, there are no archaeological sites that will be impacted. So for staff's recommendation, we recommend approval of the Anderson single-hung 9/4 window light design windows as proposed by the applicant. Any questions for the board?
Anyone have any questions of staff?
I can get a relative idea of how much shorter the new windows are, but do you have that in inches?
We did provide a actual photo for it within the attachments. Mr. Roth, would you like to?
Hi, Michael Roth, 3577 Kings Road. The windows that you're looking at in those elevations, they don't have dimensions, but they're approximately 6 inches shorter. It's kind of hard to tell, but if you look at those pictures, you'll see that those existing windows that we want to take out actually have transoms on them. Those transoms are going to go away, and the head heights of the existing windows that are staying are going to match the head heights of our new windows. So that's really the critical line that you want to see, is that portion of it where it steps up at the bottom. It's really insignificant. You can actually see it that they do step up now at the bottom.
Do you have any other additional comments that you'd like to make?
Only that what we're trying to do is get the windows that were done in the 80s to match the rest of the house. That's really, it's in simplest terms, that's what we're trying to do.
Does the board have any questions for the applicant? At this point, if we no questions, we'll open the meeting to the public if anybody is wishing to speak against the application. Anyone wishing to speak for? Then we'll close the public portion of the meeting and ask the board members if they have any more discussion or comments to make. And if not, I'll ask for a motion.
I move that the board approves the application submitted by Anthony Hines on the property at 115 South Spring Boulevard.
Roll call.
Ms. Johnson?
Yes.
Ms. Page?
Yes?
Ms. Protobinis?
Yes. Okay, next case. CA number 17-16, Cahill on 306 Bay Street. Can we have a staff report, please?
Yes, the applicant is requesting a certificate of approval to install new windows, enlarge the porch and add new porch supports, reconstruct the roof, and add new siding. The property owner is James Cahill, the agent is Gary Young, and the property is located in the R60 zoning district and within the residential medium future land use designation. The property is located at 306 Bay Street and is considered a contributing historic structure. This is a one-story masonry vernacular style home constructed circa 1946, placing it between the mid-century masonry vernacular style and the modern century masonry vernacular style. The structure has a hip and flat roof cladded in composite shingles. The circa 1965 garage may have originally been a detached structure, but is now connected to the main house by a roof. There was a rear flat roof addition added circa 1960. The exterior of the structure is concrete block stucco, and there's an off-center entry under the main porch. Proposed actions reviewed by this board. The applicant is requesting a certificate of approval for the following additions. The new windows. There are currently 3 types of windows on the home: metal casement, brown vinyl casement, and white vinyl sliders. All the windows will be replaced with Anderson casement windows having aluminum cladding that is factory painted. The paint matches the current exterior paint. A new window opening and a window will be added to the middle area of the home along the front facade during the interior renovation. In researching the historical design guidelines for other Florida cities, guidelines allow for 3 or 4 pane metal casement windows for modern masonry styles. The number 2 is the roof construction. The original home has a hip roof and the 2 side additions have flat roofs. The 2 flat roofs will be reconstructed to create hip roofs to match the original home, and the entire roof will then be cladded in metal roofing material. Number 3 is the front porch reconstruction. The front porch will be enlarged and new tapered wood columns will be added as porch supports. The base is not proposed to be stone. Number 4, hardy board siding accent. The home exterior currently consists of stucco. However, the applicant would like to add hardy board siding as an accent. Under C, we have the staff-approved actions. Staff has approved the following changes. Fence replacement. The existing wood fence to the side and rear of the home will be replaced with an aluminum and masonry fence in accordance with the local design guidelines. New shutters. These 3 new aluminum Bahama shutters will be added, and the existing Bahama shutter will be removed. The interior structural addition. The interior structural addition will be approved through staff and the Building Development Department. The review criteria and analysis portion. In review of an application for certificate of approval, the board shall consider the following criteria. The height and width of the proposed alteration or new construction shall be consistent with that of adjacent contributing structures and those structures of similar character and architectural style found throughout the immediate neighborhood or the district. Staff's findings are that for the windows, staff supports the use of the proposed casement windows. The replacement of the 3 types of windows with 1 window type is encouraged, and the casement windows are compatible with a modern era masonry vernacular style. For the roof, the proposed hip-style roof reconstruction is consistent with the original roof style of the home and the neighboring home roofs. The metal roof is a new addition, as the existing roof is composite shingle. Staff defers to the board on this recommendation since the local and Secretary of the Interior Design Guidelines provide very little guidance on what roof materials are appropriate for a masonry vernacular home. Number C is the porch enlargement and new porch supports. The local design guidelines provide the following guidance. The original appearance and features of the porch, such as column and supports, shall be maintained. If porch features are to be repaired or replaced, they shall match the original feature in material, size, design, detail, scale, and finish. Porch addition design materials shall be compatible with the architectural style of the principal structure. Staff recommends that the porch support columns be constructed as stucco-like columns versus the applicant's request for wood. The proposed porch enlargement is consistent in scale to the size of the home. D, the hardy board accent siding. The local design guidelines state that the following is guidelines for additions to historical structures. Additions should match the architectural style of the principal structure. This includes but is not limited to the review of the following design elements: roof form and materials, siding materials and dimensional features with the style and orientation, and fenestration patterns. The addition of hardy board siding as an accent to the home would not be considered compatible with this guideline, the masonry vernacular architectural style, or the historical period. Number 2, as far as the review criteria. The width and height of the windows, doors, and entries shall be consistent with the character of the building's original architectural style. Repair or replacement of the missing architectural features such as windows, mullions, doors, entries, etc. should be based on accurate duplications and substantiated by historical, physical, or pictorial evidence rather than on conjectural designs or the availability of different architectural elements from other buildings or structures. Staff's findings are that the new windows could be considered more compatible with the modern era masonry vernacular style. The renovation of the flat roof to a hip roof is consistent with architectural style. The porch enlargement is more consistent with the size and scale of the existing home. However, staff recommends the support columns be constructed of cement stucco materials. Staff does not feel that the use of hardy board as an accent material is consistent with architectural or historic nature of the structure, and staff was not able to substantiate the request by historic, physical, or pictorial evidence. Number 3, the relationship of a structure within a historic or cultural preservation district to the open space between it and the street and to other buildings or scenic views, vistas, excuse me, or streetscapes, characterizing areas shall be protected through a site plan review process addressing setbacks, roof lines, etc. Excuse me. Staff's findings are that the remodel will require plan review and approval through the city's Building Development Department. The shape, texture of the roof shall replicate the shape, texture, and type of roof. Distinguishing the building's original architecture on structure of similar style and age within an historic cultural preservation district. I'm sorry, I feel like I got something stuck in my throat here. Heather, could you take over for me on this?
I need to swear you in.
Yep.
Do you swear from the testimony you're about to give the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do. All right. Shape and texture of the roof shall replicate the shape and texture and type of roof, distinguishing the building's original architecture on structures of similar size and age within the historic and cultural preservation district. Staff findings: the shape of the proposed roof is consistent with the original portion of the home. The use of the metal roofing material is being deferred to the board for a recommendation. Size and mass, this is item 5. The size and mass of the building after alteration shall be reflective of the building's original architectural style and reflective of the character of contributing buildings within the districts as well as those in the immediate surroundings and subject property, and shall include review of the architectural elements such as roof lines, fenestration, and other components of facade design. Staff findings: with the exception of the proposed hardy board accent siding, the porch support material, and the roofing material, the changes that the applicant proposed are reflective of the contributing structures in the neighborhood. Landscaping shall be utilized as a means to enhance the architectural character and appearance of the structure or traditional cultural property, and to protect and define open spaces, pedestrian ways within the historic and cultural preservation districts. Staff findings are that it's not applicable. Number 7, distinctive architectural features shall be repaired rather than replaced whenever possible. Architectural details shall be treated so as to make the structure consistent with the property's original architectural style and character. New materials should be replicated, should replicate material being replaced in composition, design, color, texture, and other visual qualities. Staff findings: with the exception of the proposed hardy board accent siding, the porch support materials, and the roofing material, the changes that the applicant are proposing are consistent with the design guidelines reflective of the original structure's architectural style and character. 8, all building structures, sites, and traditional cultural properties shall be recognized as products of their own time. Alterations, modifications, or other changes to the structure or traditional cultural property shall not attempt to create an earlier appearance than the original date of the construction. Changes that may have taken place in the course of time are evidence of the history and development of the subject property and may have acquired significance in their own right. This significance shall be recognized and respected. The additions are not expected to create an earlier appearance. Number 9, renovation of a contributing structure in an historic and cultural district or designated area shall meet the guidelines shall meet the Secretary of Interior standards for rehabilitation and guidelines for rehabilitating historic structures. Staff findings: the guidelines are referred to in section B1A through D above, with the exception of the proposed hardy board accent siding and the porch support material. The remaining improvements are consistent with the guidelines. 10, the proposed project shall conform to other requirements of this code and be in compliance with applicable goals, objectives, and policies of the comprehensive plan. Staff's findings: all of the proposed improvements should meet the requirements of the LDC and the zoning district regulations and the goals, objectives, and policies of the comprehensive plan. 11, the impact upon archaeological site shall preserve the integrity of the site. No archaeological site will be impacted. Recommendations: staff recommends approval of the applicant's certificate of approval request for the following: new Anderson casement windows having aluminum clad factory painted to match the current exterior paint, reconstruction of the roof to create a hip style roof, enlargement of the porch area with stucco-like porch supports, replacement of the roof material with metal. Staff does not recommend approval of the hardy board accent along the front facades. And with that, staff can answer any questions that you may have.
Would the applicant like to make any additional comments or make any presentation? Okay, please come up.
I'm Gary Young. I'm the agent. The owners are also here if you have any questions for them. Our main thrust here on the design was to unify the two structures that are there that were built in the 40s and also in the 60s. So we want to carry through the hipped roof that is prominent in the 40s structure to unify the entire structure. But this building is very long. It's about 85 foot. It's on a double lot. It's all stucco. It's the stuccos are very smooth, and we were looking for material that gave us a little bit of texture, a little more interest to the exterior of the building. And there is an existing Bahama shutter on the premise, on the front elevation of the home now, and you frequently see Bahama shutters with horizontal lap siding. Lap siding is also prevalent in Tarpon Springs, dating back to early turn of the century. So we thought that might be an appropriate material to give us a little bit of texture and a little bit of compatibility with the Bahama shutters that's existing on the structure now. And it's primarily in the area of the addition, and it kind of wraps to the front door to give a little bit more emphasis on the front door of the existing structure. So it is not a large amount of lap siding. It's probably in the order of about 20% of the front elevation. And staff mentioned the windows. We have about 3 or 4 different kinds of windows. The intent here is to unify to all the same compatible window. And I wasn't clear on the material of the columns. It sounds like staff is recommending something on a stucco line. We don't have any problem with that. I'm just not sure what's driving that. You know, the column would be pretty much smooth either way, whether it's a synthetic material, a fiberglass material, a wood material, or a stucco material. But we would defer to staff. We're okay with whatever the material that would be acceptable to everybody. We're just looking for the shape and the style.
Does anyone have any questions of the applicant? Can you talk a little bit about the selection of the roof material? I believe it was metal. It's listed in here as metal.
Yes. It's a metal roof. Part of when we were looking at different materials, the existing rafters couldn't handle anything heavier, like a barrel tile, which wouldn't be necessarily compatible with the original style of house, or a flat concrete tile of any kind. So it really came down to metal roof or shingles. And the metal roof you will find frequently with the Bahama shutters. And you also will frequently just see it around town in a lot of varying designs, buildings. It's the best roof you can put on for hurricane. It's will last longer than any other shingle roof. You know, shingles have a lifespan of around 15, 18 years. Metal roof has a lifespan about 70 years. So between the hurricane benefits and the longevity benefits, we try to do metal roofs anywhere we can because it's, for the life of the building, it's the best way to go.
How many of the Bahama shutters are currently on the house? Because it says you're adding 3 with the existing being removed. Does that mean there are 3 existing currently?
Actually, the existing one is being removed, but it's being replaced. So
Right.
So we're not removing an existing one and adding three. We're basically updating or upgrading the existing one so that they all match. So we are adding, to answer your question, we're adding just one. Two. So we're adding two, we're replacing one for a total of three.
Anyone have any questions or comments, discussion?
Well, I'm a little confused about the metal roof, because I thought earlier the staff said that they defer to us, but then there is a recommendation to accept the metal roof, so we could have a little clarification on that. And then I guess I'd also like to know if there are other examples of the metal roof being used.
No, and that's why I had a hard time, is there wasn't anything in the local guidelines or the state guidelines for that. And basically asking y'all if you have any experience or knowledge of that material being acceptable.
There are other examples of the use of metal roofs throughout the historic district. There's several examples in the Fruit Bowl area. There's a couple examples, I believe, off of Reed Street. We did have one, at least one come in, I believe, off of Reed Street in the last year or so when I've been here. But I know that there are examples. If you drive down Bath and some of the other streets in the Fruit Bowl, you will see that there are metal roofs. Some of them probably precede the district when the district was established, because it was established in the 80s. Many people, I'm sure, had metal roofs prior to that. But there have been recent ones added. And there have been recent ones added to masonry vernacular style. Now, it's a different type of masonry vernacular style than what you're dealing with here. We've also had a couple of frame vernaculars that have been stuccoed over years ago, and they've been allowed to put on metal roofs. So there are instances in the district where it has been acceptable.
I have a question about the porch. It says that the existing porch is small, and so for the porch supports, you are thinking of expanding the porch, and would there be additional supports other than just two?
No, essentially, we're taking the porch and pushing it towards the street.
I see.
So we're kind of taking the same amount of supports and moving them forward.
Not lengthening.
We're not going, we are slightly going wider. It's a couple of feet wider.
Okay.
But
not enough to require additional supports.
no.
Yeah. And this-
I thought, and my concern here is that there seems to be two different directions that the style is taking. With the hardy board, with the metal roof, with the wood structure, with the porch, we seem to be moving in one direction, which seems to be away from the original style with the stucco. That would be my concern. I don't know if anybody else has any comments on that, or if you would like to answer to that, but the hardy board is not really, to me, consistent with what the original house in terms of restoring and maintaining the structure. But the metal roof seems to be paired up with the hardy board and the idea of the Bahama shutters and adding more. So it seems like it's a movement away from, to me, it seems like it's a conflict in design. That's my concern.
I would agree with that.
It's a movement, I'll give you that. But the problem we were running into is you have a flat roof that's a 60s driven design. You have a hip roof, which was a 40s driven design. We have 3 or 4 different kinds of windows, which pick up from the 40s to the 60s to the 80s. We have that one Bahama shutter that's there too, that probably wasn't original to the 40s portion of the house, but was part of or added later to the 60s portion of the house. So the question is, how do you take all those different styles and those different periods and try to tie them together? And I think the main thing was, the biggest element we had was the roof. We have a big hip roof that's there now. We have a flat roof that doesn't seem to belong, so it just seemed to make sense to carry that hip roof through. And then that started, or was the driver of the style. And then it just became a look back into the period of the 40s. And as far as exterior materials in the 40s, you had stucco, you had lap siding, you had the old asbestos type shingle siding. And we could have done a hardy shingle siding, which would have been reflective of the 40s style too. And like I said, the main thing was we were looking for some kind of a material that gave us a little bit of texture for a very long elevation that was essentially flat and textureless with very smooth stucco.
I think some of the, definitely what you're looking to do with the windows, as you mentioned, and reconstructing the roof and the porch enlargement, I think definitely can work. I am personally just not comfortable with the hardy board as being consistent with the preservation of that historical nature in that neighborhood. So, and with the house itself, that would be that's probably my main concern. Is that something that you as an applicant are willing to reconsider?
Yes, we can, we're here to work with everybody, and it is something we can reconsider. Is there another texture perhaps that you would feel that would be more acceptable in that case, to give us something besides a smooth stucco?
Well, he can certainly discuss what he wants to do, if he wanted to do something with the exterior of the structure for stuccoing, but there's options for doing different types of stucco that will give you relief. It's just got to give him this type of relief here where it's going to give him a whole different appearance for, breaking up the structure by giving it a horizontal line in areas helps bring character and interest to the building. You're not going to get that same type of interest with using a stucco treatment, right? You're going to, even with a stucco that's somewhat has some relief to it, it's not going to have enough relief. It's not going to have enough change. It's still going to provide a more monotone appearance or more regular pattern. There's nothing you really can do to stucco to make that work. You can add shell to it, but even that doesn't provide really much relief. We do have buildings that have that here in the historic district. It's obviously not ideal for most people because it gives too much of a beachy look to some houses. That being the case, I wouldn't obviously recommend that for this particular structure. This particular structure, it's difficult. I think with the metal roof, you're going to have enough interest in the metal roof that with that playing off of it, you might not need that hardy board siding. But again, that's a preference of the applicant. The applicant's going to tell us kind of what they want. They can certainly work with staff, but in the end, I hate to make them wait if in the end, the idea is that they want some type of lap siding, is it the product that we're concerned about, or is it the appearance? What I'm hearing from here is it's the appearance of that lap siding, not the fact that they're using some particular product. And I don't know that they're gonna get much different. It's still gonna, I mean, if they put a shake looking tile on the thing and do like a cedar shake appearance, which can also be done replicated with hardy board, are you going to be more interested in that? I don't know if you are, because then you're getting into both a horizontal line and a vertical line that are coming into conflict with another smooth pattern. So it's up to the applicant on what they want, what they're really looking to accomplish by adding the hardy board. What I'm hearing from this board is it's not so much the product that you're concerned about, it's just the appearance, how it appears on the structure. So you have a couple of different options. You can ask the applicant if they want to remove that portion of their application and come back with something different, and then you can either continue forward with the other changes that they want to do, and then they can come back to the process with us, or you can defer their application for them to deal with that thing if they want to look at different options and work with staff on options. That's completely up to this board and to your communication with the applicant on what you guys want to do. But that's really where you want to go. You're either going to defer, you're going to remove this, or you're going to hash it out tonight. I don't know that that's going to kind of get there, because I don't think that staff, I'm prepared to say yes, definitely you can go with a wider lap siding, and
Right.
it's going to be a better line. I think that there is a possibility for you looking at that, because hardy board is one of those products that comes in such a variety. The sizing of the panels and things are different based on the part of the country that you're in, and the period of style you're trying to replicate.
Right.
So I don't know that we're going to come to a thing, but we certainly will be willing to work with you if you wanted to do that.
Sure. How would you handle like horizontal scoring in stucco?
What's that?
You know, I'm sorry?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Oh, how would you handle horizontal scoring in stucco? A lot of 40s homes were concrete block, and they had a very light texture of, or almost no texture of stucco. And then they raked only the horizontal joints in the block, in the masonry. So you had a series of 8-inch horizontal lines in a building that were completely made up of just striking the joints of the masonry.
There's nothing in the guidelines that would prohibit you from doing that, treating the mason. You're dealing with a masonry vernacular building, so you doing something like that to the masonry itself, or the stucco itself, there's nothing in our guidelines that say you can't do that.
Okay.
I would like to see some type of diagram before that's what this board agrees to, only because it's a little bit different than what they're going to have here, and I want them to see the visual difference. Lap siding is going to have a different effect than that's going to have.
Sure.
So, I mean, that would be my only preference as staff, that we get to see a different, that we see a rendering with that information before this board makes that decision, if they're willing to go that route. But there is nothing in our design guidelines that specifically prohibits that. So that is an option.
And I would just
So-
say, I'm sorry, I
Go
would
ahead.
just say from a legal perspective with this board and how it is and the complement of the board that we get on any given basis, if you do choose to continue the application, it would have to be the same complement of the board that hears the evidence at the next hearing, which means that from a legal perspective, I would suggest that you just remove that portion of the application and decide on the other portions, and then have the applicant come back with just that portion of the application.
And we're okay with that. My only question was, you said there wasn't any guidelines on it, so I wasn't clear whether we had to go through the same process if we did horizontal score lines in the stucco or in the masonry.
I would want to see some type of, rendering, and obviously we want to bring it before this board because it's something a little bit different. I can't think of an example here in Tarpon where I've seen that. Now, that doesn't mean it doesn't exist. I certainly haven't been to every house in Tarpon, but I would want the board to have the opportunity to at least look at a rendering of what that's going to appear to be, because it's going to be significantly different than this.
Okay.
So it's still going to have the line appearance, but it will be a different effect than actually putting a piece of like hardy board on top of
Wouldn't stone also be an option?
Yeah, stone would be another, you can, there are different varieties of materials you can use, and obviously we'd be looking to the applicant to decide things, but it's the same type of review. You would bring that part back, that portion back,
Okay.
once you've got something that you think that we might be more willing to do. But again, this is one of those things that it's tough because it's not something that the guidelines really specifically address. It's really gonna be open more to the interpretation, the aesthetics of that neighborhood, and really looking at that neighborhood.
Okay. So at this point, it'd be more of an approval of stucco, and then we would come back if we decide to do something.
If you wanted something different, yes.
But at this point, I also have, I would need to know the decision of the siding
We'll handle that.
or the alteration that they might make to decide on that metal roof or not. Because I feel like you said there might be an inconsistent with the hardy board and the metal roof, or there's enough interest in the roof, you don't need so that piece for me is a critical piece on deciding the material of the roof.
And you can certainly pull either or multiple portions out of this if you want. It's just whatever we pull out, we want the applicant to know clearly tonight what to
Right.
bring back to you, so that everyone's clear and we get what we need, so we don't keep coming back.
Exactly.
And I think, are you referring to kind of like the combination of roof material with the hardy board?
Or
lack
whatever
of it,
facade
or
they're
the-
using, yes.
Yeah, and I
It makes
agree.
it different.
I think that the part that was kind of going in a different direction, and together it,
I feel like there's a disconnect there, so, I need to see the whole picture.
Do you know the distance, just that for my own curiosity, do you know the distance between the seams and the roof line? Is that, and what's the
Typical 12
span?
to- 12 to 16 inches.
12 to 16 inches, and the band would be 8 inches. So that's really not gonna, it's not gonna be like, you essentially could turn it like this, and that would look what the scoring would look like, but it's not gonna be that way if there's
Oh,
more
if we did stucco
distance.
scoring?
Yeah,
Well, yeah, that was just an example I would throw out, but yes, it'd be roughly 8 inches
8
on
inches.
center, yes.
so it'd be half that distance. So it wouldn't look quite like this. It would be between this and that on a horizontal plane.
But it'd be also much more subtle, too.
Mm-hmm, sure,
You're only talking about a 3/8 reveal.
exactly.
are there any other questions for the applicant, or shall we open up the meeting to the public if anybody is wishing to speak against the application? Or anyone? Anybody wishing to speak for the application? We'll close the public portion of the meeting and come back to the board to see if there's any more discussion or comments before we ask for a motion.
Well, and I would say when you make the motion, just to be very specific as to what you're making the motion, if you want to pull certain items to have the applicant come back to you, just make sure that you are very clear on what you're making the motion for, and then the portions that will be deferred, where the applicant will come back before the board.
Can we move
I think I need to go this way.
on this one? See if we recommend stucco for the front porch. This is not
No.
obviously not the home, but if we make a recommendation here
Well, you're gonna
to
do-
be,
Well, yeah, you'd assume, obviously, the one you see right next to you. Reconstructing the roof, everyone seems to be
Yes.
okay with us going there.
Mhm.
So enlarging the porch area and with a stucco like porch support. What he was making the argument for was the porch supports look very similar, whether they're stucco or a different material. So if you're concerned that that's gonna impact the overall appearance when we deal with this
Mhm.
and this, then you would pull that. Don't, that'd be up to you whether you think that that's gonna be a significant enough change. But this and that would seem to be what everybody's interested in, those two items.
Mhm.
Boom.
Okay.
Pretty important, that's the concern. But if you think think that this might be a problem, you'd want to pull that out too. Maybe you approve this, and pull that out.
Approve this, enlarging it, but
But,
this
yeah,
needs,
but then having the applicant come back to talk about this, and that, you think that that's the most appropriate? And then if your motion goes up and it's a second, we're done.
because it will depend. To me, it would depend on what the, how they
Well, sure,
decide to do
because
it.
the one you're looking at there, if they choose to use stone,
Stone, right.
the appearance is gonna be different.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm. Correct.
Okay,
You good?
yes. All right. I'd like to make a motion that the board approves. I'd like to make a motion on the application from James Cahill on the property at 306 Bay Street, that the board approve new Anderson casement windows having aluminum cladding factory painted to match the current exterior paint. Number 2, reconstruction of the roof to create a hip-style roof. Number 3, enlargement of the porch. Period.
Yes, you can.
Comfortable with recommendation of the stucco? Are you
Well,
recommending
I'm
the
not,
stucco?
because at this point, since we do not know what the replacement of the facade, front facade might be, I think that might, if they choose to use stone, it may alter the appearance according to this sample photo that we got of the porch supports that are in stone. So we don't know this. We don't have enough information at this point to make that recommendation.
And so that's the motion that's before the board. So you would need a second, and then there could
Yeah,
be
and then
more
you can
discussion.
discuss it.
Okay, so can you repeat the motion, please?
Oh,
Then-
sure. I'd like to make a motion that the board approve the application from James Cahill for 306 Bay Street for, number 1, new Anderson casement windows having aluminum cladding, factory painted to match the current exterior paint. Number 2, reconstruction of the roof to create a hip-style roof. And number 3, enlarging the porch. Enlarging the porch.
Might I amend that motion a bit to say enlarging the porch area with the applicant to come back with the type of
I
material?
was gonna say, can we add the whole, come back and discuss these three
All
That,
things,
yeah,
these three
and then
things,
to
so-
come back and discuss the material for the porch supports, replacement of the roof material, and the facade of the building. Is that,
Do it again.
you do not need to do it again.
we
For the
can-
record, that is the motion that you're
Yes,
going
that
to
is
make. And that
exactly
is the
it.
motion that's before the board.
Do we have a second? We have a second.
Okay, is there any
So
discussion?
now we can discuss it. Oh. You can if you want, completely up to you.
Is the public
If,
say
well,
something?
actually, no.
No, she
No.
can't.
The hearing has been closed. This is board discussion. There's a motion before the board, so I apologize.
All right, is there any more discussion from the board on this?
And they have to read them here.
Should I
And
withdraw?
if not, we'll have a roll call.
I guess if it was.
It's too late.
Was it seconded? You want me to
Roll call?
Yeah, please. We had a second.
Ms. Johnson?
Yes.
Ms. Page?
Yes.
Ms. Protomitis?
Yes.
So the motion passed.
Okay. Good job. Can you wait till we have like two different items and then we'll sit and talk with you if you need to? Okay. Next one. Capital board.
All right, do we have any staff or board comments, please?
I just have one announcement that I kind of really wanted to make to all of you. Unfortunately, Phyllis has chosen to leave the Historic Preservation Board and has tendered her resignation. That apparently, makes a vacancy. So what we will be doing is I'll be meeting with the clerk probably in the next week or so to get onto the board's agenda to try to get you some new folks to join you. We need to try to we do have some folks that have applied through the Citizens Academy and those types of venues, so I believe that you do have a couple of people who are interested. The board will make that recommendation, and then we'll have them seated as soon as we possibly can. So I just wanted to make that announcement to everybody, so that you're all aware of what's going on. So
Thank you.
if you don't see Phyllis here, you'll know why. And other than that, I don't have other staff comments at this time.
Can I ask a question, Heather?
Yes,
Does-
ma'am.
Does that move me up from an alternate?
Not automatically. You would, I was actually going to talk to you after the meeting. You would, if you want to do that, if you want to be a regular member, we will give you, they give them an option A, option B. Option A, pick somebody from the pool. Option B is, have you move up and then bring somebody into your alternate spot. So that's an option if you're interested, and I'll talk to you after this to make sure that, yes, you are and you do want to do that, so. That's all that I have.
All right, are there any other board comments?
Does Eric have anything?
I'd just like to say that was very good for your first meeting.
Thank you very much. Thank you for all of your help, everybody.
Of course, and you know what, and that did lead me to remember, we have a couple of generic kind of scripts, so I will try and forward that on.
Thank you.
I saw that you did that, so.
That was-
And
that
then,
was
of course,
huge.
with some of the new board members coming on, and we'll go ahead and get out that quasi judicial memo, that way you guys can review it and kind of see it.
What did you say? You'll
We
get
have a
out the-
quasi judicial memo that we
Memo.
always send to new board members, and it doesn't hurt to give a refresher for those who have been sitting for a while, just to let you know what exactly quasi judicial proceeding is,
Okay,
what types of evidence you're to be looking at, that type of thing.
thank you.
So I'm always here to chime in,
Thank
for
you.
good or bad, but but I'll get that out to Heather to send to all of you guys. So that-
Thank you.
You're
Very good.
welcome.
Thank you. Meeting adjourned.
Okay, now your questions. That's okay. Not for that portion.
Remember Sunshine, so.
Oh, yeah. Correct. Yep, you're only gonna come back and see this board or see our staff if you have questions that aren't specific. If there's something in the guidelines that you just wanna do, if they meet the guidelines, it just goes through review with us, which some of the stuff you're doing is just, we review it. So if there's no other changes that you guys wanna do, then you just go on your merry way and get a building permit. And we'll send you we'll provide you a letter with everything outlined of what was approved tonight, which you'll take to the permit folks so that they know that you did that step. Okay? Any other questions? Okay. Well, have a good night.
Thank you. Very
Keep
much.
it. That's for you.
I will.
Okay. Now, you get to do like an official thing. Are you ready for it?
I'm ready.
You get to like sign your
welcome.
name, even though you're not David Bolton. You still get to sign because he wasn't here.
Actually, it's
So what I
it's
would
the
do
longest
is
report for any board that we have.
But you'll sign your name and then just
Yes,
say,
it is, yeah. Most of the reports run are about 3
you would
pages
say,
long.
in lieu
Yeah,
of,
these run
chair.
like 15.
For my name.
and then in lieu of.
Yeah, y'all were very good. Thank you. I'll be talking with you.
Well, we won't be able
Okay.
to find her if we need her.
Lou is Lieu.
Yeah, when we need her, she'll be working. She's my working lady. You want to do that? Okay.
Good.
If you want to do that,
Wonderful.
we'll do that. We'll give them that option. Normally, they automatically. do
Kim,
that
do you
if
need
they
some
get
help?
that option. They go
With
with
anything?
it, they just pick. it. But every once in a while, they do change things up on me to just mess me up. So
There's a gentleman on the board. Huntsville? He
yes,
has not been here in several meetings. Is he still
he
part of it?
is still part here. He unfortunately tonight had to work at the restaurant. He's Julie. I can't think
Rusty
of her name.
Bellies?
Yes,
Yeah, yeah, I can't think
that's
of
her
it.
son-in-law.
Oh, you're kidding. Oh, I didn't know that.
So when he gets stuck with nobody showing up type